Hello, my name is Nicole Smith, and I am studying secondary education with the goal to become a high school or middle school science teacher. In this presentation, I will be talking about how nonverbal communication skills can help me as a teacher and in the classroom. First, I would like to discuss eye behavior. Eye contact is really important, especially when you are speaking in front of an audience and as a teacher. According to an article I found on the National Education Association website, teachers who hold eye contact show a student that they are listening and interested in what they're saying. And I do believe that is true. If a student can tell that you are interested in what they're saying, they're more likely to talk to you. Another thing to think about is how you can read eye contact in your room. Students who may avoid your gaze could mean that they are anxious or nervous, or they really don't want to be called on, like, I don't know the answer, don't call me, or I do know the answer, but I really don't want to speak in front of my peers. And so that's something to be aware of. So reading the eye contact in your room is really important to understand your students and understand their comfort level as well. Gestures are so important in just everyday communication, but can be really useful in the classroom. So two I want to talk about are illustrators and regulators. Illustrators are purposeful. They're actually what I'm doing right now with my hands. I'm using my hands to illustrate what I'm trying to say, so to reinforce ideas. You can also use them to explain directions, so like, count out the steps. So step 1 is XYZ, step 2 is, blah, blah, blah. So illustrators are really important when you're talking to the whole group, but regulators can also be extremely important. I spent 2 years as a classroom aide in a middle school, and the teachers would often, in order to get the classroom to be quiet, would hold up they'd count down from 5 just with their hands, and they wouldn't say anything. They would just use their hands, and they would count down to 1, and then they'd hold it like this, and then they would start timing how long it takes the classroom past that 5 seconds. And if it goes on long, then they could do something else to make sure the classroom doesn't do that again. Either assign some sort of what's the word? Anyway, some sort of punishment. Thank you to make sure the classroom doesn't do that again. But you can also use it to kind of move the topic along, discussion along. So you can be like, you can point at a student, what do you think? Okay, great. What do you think? Great. Okay. So like, hand gestures are really important as a teacher when you're trying to keep a classroom, like trying to keep your classroom maintained, and also to help students kind of understand what you're talking about, because some students are very visual. They need these visual stimuli, and so along with what you're saying, your presentation, what pictures you have up, and maybe you point at a solution, or you're using your gestures to illustrate your point in the story you're telling. So they're very important in classrooms. Okay, the last one I would like to talk about is physical appearance. At first glance, this might not seem very important in a school setting, especially because in our society, we don't want to appear like we're putting a lot of stock in appearance, but in reality it is. Professional appearance can help a student see you as a teacher. According to the Sackett and Haynes textbook, a formal appearance can show a teacher as being more competent, organized, prepared, knowledgeable, and fair. Whereas if you're wearing more casual attire, a teacher could be seen as friendly, outgoing, receptive, and flexible. So this is why I kind of had my 2 points on my slide here. So on days where it's appropriate, you dress professionally, you dress nicely, and then maybe like on a test day where you're seen as organized and competent and prepared, right? But maybe on days where you're having like group discussions or not so rigid days, you dress up maybe more casually. You know, you wear jeans and a nice shirt, and then you can be seen as more like, you know, fun and friendly and here to help, right? Another example I have on the slide is school spirit days. If you participate in those dress up days, a student could see you as like kind of more, not necessarily on their level, but more approachable, right? If you're showing that you are, you know, you're here to have fun just like a student is on these days, and you know, you're more approachable. You're more likely to get that student to think of you as someone that they could come to for help, in my opinion. So, you know, how you dress as a teacher can be really important. I'm not saying necessarily that only beautiful people and conventionally attractive people should go into teaching, but you know, you can't just show up to work in your in not good clothes. Like, it's not, you're not going to get a good relationship with the kids. And as a teacher, a good relationship with the kids is so important, because if you don't have that relationship, you can't teach them. You just can't. They're not going to learn. They're not going to pay attention. So that's why I included it on here, because it is important, and it's a good skill to have. Here are my sources, if you would like to take a look at them later. Okay, thank you very much for watching.